Good morning, everyone. Laoshi Lawrence McElroy here for Water Tiger School of Taijiquan, and we are live, hopefully, live here on Facebook for our 26th time this year in the new abnormal. That makes it half a year, right? 26 Mondays, that means 26 weeks or 52 weeks in a year. Now, we have not been here every Monday since we started all the way back on March 23rd, because Mondays tend to be holidays a lot. Again, announcement here just a moment ago. Oh, no, it's not telling me anything. So anyway, welcome to yet another Water Tiger School on Facebook for Sachem. And of course, the greater community. Let's backtrack there for a moment about holidays. I know next Monday is Columbus Day, Indigenous Persons Day. And were we in the library, we wouldn't be in the library next Monday because it is a holiday, recognized as a holiday. However, my wife, who is still home officing, will be working, so I might as well too. So, as unusual as it may seem, we're still going to have a live session next Monday morning at 10 a.m. Water Tiger for Sachem will be here on Columbus Day, on Indigenous Persons Day, next Monday, October 12th. So just keep that in mind, mark your calendars accordingly, and we'll take it from there. Don't have a lot to talk about. Before today's session, we're going to do a couple of lower body warm-ups from the 9 temple exercises. I'm sure you'll love them both. Really, I'm telling you the truth. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time in one of our walking exercises that we've developed over the years, for a posture that, you know, if you're familiar with the posture, you may go, well, how do you make a walking exercise out of that? Well, that's what we're going to explore this morning. And that posture is single whip, which appears in the 24 posture form, which is the foundation, sort of the map without a destination, as we like to say, in the Sachem Public Library class on Long Island in Holbrook, New York. And in other programs as well. And then it also makes an appearance in the traditional long form, as well as I'm sure probably other forms. But anyway, so single whip is usually only done, in the 24 twice. It bookends posture called wave hands like clouds or cloud hands. And it's only done on one side. As a matter of fact, in both the 24 and the long form, it's always done with the left foot forward, but there are some stance things that we'll need to address, as well as some structural things in the posture from Water Tiger School's approach. You know, a lot of different people do these different postures, differently. So we'll play with that. Studio still at this point, continuing with, the established studio students who did not want to return to in-person classes are still remote. So we have some people who are remote and some people who are, in the studio on a regular basis. Still getting accustomed to that particular environment and what it entails. Matter of fact, the post on my Laoshi's professional page, Laoshi Lawrence McElroy, this morning sort of addressed things that we're still ironing out. And, I kind of had a duh moment last night where, something wasn't working out very well. And I went, well, this is what I should have been doing all along. And it helped. So adapt and conquer, as I always say. And I think that's enough because I'm just sort of rambling, waiting to see if anybody shows up, says hi or anything. So I'm going to move back. We'll get started with this. Oddly, I have my shoulder width tape out, and the reason I say oddly is when we get to single whip, you'll see why I say oddly. I'm going to shake out some of this stuff. I think it was it the Tuesday morning remote class, I think for West Babylon, for Water Tiger School last week. I started doing this and I did not want to stop. I mean, I know I always joke about that, but I could have just very well have kept doing this. Be looking for, and we're going to do some, sort of the first part of turn and circle from Water Tiger School. Some people will call this, the floppy arm twirl or whatever. I have a funny story sort of about this. We haven't decided if I'm the one that's going to share it or Water Tiger School is, so look for it in the next couple of days. It's another one that I just love. Don't have to do the whole, turn and circle. It's just sort of a standard loosening up thing that I do. And it sort of became turn and circle. Now, and I don't, probably a lot of other people do things like turn and circle. And then, like I said, everybody, probably, well, almost everybody, you'll find out when you see the post. Think that this is grand as well. All right. So the two pieces that we're going to do from the 9 temple exercises is 1, leg bounce, and 2, leg swing. Don't run screaming from the live session because I just said that we're going to do leg swing from the 9 temple exercises. Many, 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 many moons ago, one of the things that I would do for our standard warm-ups in some of the ongoing public classes was just to shake things up. I do an instructor's choice, Laoshi's choice, or instructor's choice, or Lawrence's choice warm-up. So it's just every week it was something different. And in one program, I think it's like somebody, they didn't like instructor's choice because it didn't give them a weekly exposure to the same warm-ups. And they wanted that continuity. So I said, okay, somebody tell me what set you'd like to do for the rest of the month. And their main discussion point was, it doesn't really matter as long as it's not the one where we're swinging your leg. So, but we'll address that when we get to it. And it won't be for long, right? Leg bounce, if you know awakening the chi, if you know shaking the tree, or body bounce, or bouncing the body, is this exercise. Everything just hangs. It's one of my favorites. I'm not sure if I did this as one of Laoshi's favorites back in the early days of these live sessions or not. But, you're double weighted, not in a bad Tai Chi way, but, more or less in our standard shoulder width stance, and just compressing and expanding. I'm not bouncing in the knees, and it becomes very important in leg bounce because it's a single leg. And another thing to remember is that leg bounce is about rejuvenating, relaxing, and opening up the spine. So when you make this about the spine expanding and compressing, it takes the rest of the body with, including the knee, as opposed to centering this in the knee, which just those 3 little bounces right there, centering it in my knee, and my knee was going, hey, dude, what are you doing? Right, so you want to make this about the full body, but generated by a feeling, a sense of expansion and compression. Not too much compression in the spine, but allowing that spine to compress and sort of really set back to normal. Right? Not to get smaller than normal. You don't want to jam the vertebrae together. So in leg bounce, it's 1 leg at a time. The weighted leg, I'll go to the left first. The weighted leg is at about a 45-degree angle. The foot's out at about a 45-degree angle. The unweighted leg, and there's no weight. I'm going to turn sideways for a moment. I'm not moving forward. Right? The ball of the foot is just resting. I have a nice healthy bend of the knee. You may even want to bend, set a little bit deeper into the weighted leg than you might normally to give you a little bit more room to bounce. And I am compressing and expanding, crown point of the head, base of the pelvic bowl, ball of the weighted foot. I'm not jerking forward and back. So it's right straight down. I just let the arms hang here. This is another exercise where I might, in a group of people, start doing different things with my hands. Excuse me, just to see who will follow the leader. right? But generally, I just let them hang. My camera's a little crooked. I feel a little bit like I'm in an evil lair in Batman in the television series. So I'm going to set my timer here. Well, not a timer, actually. And take a look at my stopwatch. We are going to do this for about 30 seconds. If you need to come out of it, fine. But if you can, stick with it. Stick with us for the 30. I'm going to start it and then pick a moment to begin. Breathe, relax, release. Crown point of the head, base of the pelvic bowl, ball of the foot. The chin is slightly dropped, so the crown point of the head is held, not lifted to the heavens. We're going to start in 2, 1, and here's our first 30 seconds. Right, straight, up and down. Compressing, well, returning to normal, expanding, returning to normal, expanding, returning to normal. I don't think I've ever used that verbal before. That's pretty good verbal for safety reasons. Legal likes it when I'm, specific in my safety language. I'm not always. Hey, we're almost there. It's like we weren't doing anything. 2, 1, and there's the first leg. Now, with as little disruption as possible, reset yourself. Foot at the 45, crown point of the head, base of the pelvic bowl, ball of the foot, settle in, maybe bending the knee a little bit more. Remember, I'm not going forward at any point. There's really no weight on that foot. I just have enough activation in the leg so the heel can be elevated. Going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And same thing, compression, crown point of the head, base of the pelvic bowl, ball of the foot. Really focusing on the spine, letting the spine drive the rest of the movement. So that involves, the back muscles, the abdominals, and everything, as opposed to making the ow about that weighted leg and the knee. We're almost there, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And there you go. So that's leg bounce. That's the first. Invigorating, is that even a word? Invigorating, loosening, opening up the spine. The spine is it, man. The spine connects everything. And spinal health is really, really, really important. So one of the things to keep in mind there is you can, the little disruption, the little, move with as little disruption as possible, just that little shuffle from side to side as you switch. You can simply, be in one position and then rotate. So whatever way you're facing, this foot is still at the 45. So you don't have to bring a foot in and extend the other foot. Boom. Now, I do want to make a little cautionary tale here. A lot of the original material that's out there on the 9 temple exercises will say something along the lines of you should spend about 5 minutes in each leg. I'm sure some of you who were able to stay with the 30 seconds thought that was too long. So I don't think I've led a session, a public session, or a studio session for that matter, of leg bounce longer than 2 minutes. And that takes some skill, right? So like anything else, you play, you build experience with it, you get comfortable with it, and then you seek to move out of that comfort zone and slowly extend your way toward 5 minutes in each leg. Don't go for 5 minutes. One of my favorite meditation stories, and by the way, we did launch, we did upload a new fresh content video on our YouTube channel last Thursday on what is normally our beginning of class meditation, our Qigong-based meditation. And I should have told this story, right? And it's about a student, beginning student, first-time student, goes to a meditation class. And somebody, I don't think it was the same student in this story, asked the teacher how long you should meditate every day. And the teacher said, well, at least 30 minutes. And the new student came back the next week and he was just a wreck. And the student said, well, the teacher asked, so tell me about your practice. She said, well, you said last week that everybody should meditate for 30 minutes. And it was horrible. It was a terrible experience. I was tense. My mind was racing all over the place. I feel like a wreck. I don't understand the 30-minute thing. And the teacher said, well, that's not where you start. That's your target is a minimum of 30 minutes. You build up to it. So speaking of building up to things, leg swing. Same thing. The basic foundational instructions will tell you to do more time than we're going to do. We'll probably only do 30 seconds here as well. Now, in the room, I will tell people I would prefer you not use, something to keep your balance. Now, if you make that choice, because I can't see you, so it doesn't really matter, make sure that it's something sturdy that's going to hold you. I want people to experience, that full sensation of the swing. And for those who need to touch down, you want to swing forward and back and touch down, back and touch down, forward and touch down, back and touch down. So you can keep your balance, but you can get that swing. That swing is about loosening and massaging this part of your core, this band around the belt channel. And all the organs in the lower belly, we're working with massaging the digestive system, the elimination system, all the organs in the pelvic bowl itself. So we're dealing with gynecological issues for women, prostate issues for men, etc. So plus massaging the glutes, massaging the hip flexors, opening up the hip flexors, opening up the glutes, opening up the quad and loosening the muscles there, massaging the perineum, the yin, the bottom of the C, etc. So it's really, really good, but it's only because of this motion. And if you're like, that's a different pattern than right, straight, forward, and back. Now, I don't dictate two things in this. Well, I don't dictate a lot in this, like the chair thing, right? Some people will insist on that weighted foot being out to the 45. Some people will insist on it being forward. I let the weighted foot be where it is. Some people will dictate, what the arms are doing as you're swinging. I don't. I say, let the arms do what they need to. You don't want to do that either, right? That's just too much muscle, too much stiffness. So I just sort of let the arms do what the arms want to do. And there's no prescribed, in my point of view, height. If what allows you to be consistent in your movement is a much smaller swing, so you can get your 30 seconds in without having to touch down, fine. If you can have a full game, that's good too. Do what works for you to maintain the rhythm of the movement as much as possible. Back to my stopwatch there. Again, just 30 seconds, both sides. I'm gonna get another drink because, it's me. I don't. Okay. Yeah, I'm talking to myself. I have a funny story about that too. It's about, again, sort of deals with my Lao Shi post this morning. 3, 2, 1, and that first side is going. Probably should have put the clock somewhere else because if you look down, the tendency is to fall down, and I put the clock on the floor. I should have set it up front. I'm just taking it easy here, sort of mapping out sort of a moderate swing. Almost home. I'm not going to count down here. People tell me when I count down, that's when they fall. So I'm not going to do it. It isn't prudent. And there's one side. See? It was like we weren't doing anything for 30 seconds. I remember a workout that's really, really extreme that the gentleman who's leading it says, anybody can do anything for 30 seconds, especially if you modify his words. I like those words. But let me tell you, his 30 seconds, what he has us doing in 30 seconds. See this. 3, 2, 1, get your balance. And have at it. Breathing, relaxing. By the way, you're also getting a little ballistic hamstring stretch here because the leg is straightening as it swings forward, seeking not to lock off. Boom. That's me looking down at the clock. Almost home. And just for kicks. And there we go. So there you go. Couple of lower body pieces. Uh-oh, my head's gone. Couple of lower body pieces from the 9 temple exercises. Leg bounce and leg swing. Just so you can see. Right? Use the wall, because the wall's not going anywhere. This chair has seen better days. But if you use a chair, you don't want to just lean into it and just put all your weight there. My hand's just lightly on that chair. And now you can really open things up. Now, a word about our leg swing as opposed to maybe some other styles of leg swing. Just sort of letting the leg swing back and it's staying mostly straight. If you want to make this a physical training stretch instead of a temple story stretch, you really make sure to straighten the leg in front and you bend the knee behind. And you get a little ballistic quad stretch too, but don't do that in this exercise when you're doing from the 9 temple exercises. So that brings us to single whip from the 24, more or less. Right? And there are a lot of things about the single whip that we need to know. There's a hand position. Crane's beak. Now, some people are very specific about, exactly where on the fingers, where the pads come together, and which fingers are touching and which fingers aren't. What we focus on is just creating a little beak. And a little beak gives us different opportunities. It becomes a hook, where you can hook somebody's arm. It becomes, for those who can't do a single finger point strike, a multi-point strike, like, I don't know, a beak. It puts the hand in configuration that's not quite a back fist, but creates the same sort of solidity over the back of the hand to be a rising strike. So there's all sorts of possibility in this crane's beak position. And you want to keep all of that together in creating the structure. It's not just simply doing that. That's really a dead hand with the pads of the digits touching one another. I'm lengthening, extending down, the joints are open. I'm spreading out across the top of the hand. And that's the crane's beak. Now moving into it in the 20, let's stay away from that for a moment. So our normal force stance is turning out the back foot to around a 45, and the front foot is forward. The hips are square, the shoulders are square. The shoulders and hips remain pretty much even, right? And the toes here can be in, but not out. You know the game if you've been here any time over the last 26 sessions, plus a handful on Tuesday mornings at 10:15 before West Babylon moved into remote. So this is our standard force stance. Our stance for single whip is different. It's all the time in force stance that allows us to be able to comfortably find the stance for single whip. The foot is inside of shoulder width. But notice, I am not on the same line. Right? My heels are not in alignment. I'm definitely not cross-stepping. But there isn't a lot of real estate between my two heels. Boom. Now in this position, I could square off my hips. This knee won't like it. My hips really end up in my standard sort of force stance length, but in this narrow stance, pretty much at a 45. My shoulders are the same. I'm still forward weighted. It's still somewhere around 70-30, 80-20, 60-40. Right? But I'm still forward. Boom. This is the lower, this is the body. This is the feet, around a 45, same thing that we talk about here. You know, it should be at the 45, but if you need it a little bit inside, a little bit more of a shallow angle, that's fine. You need a little bit broader angle, more power to you. It's a really tough position to be in for most people, but 45 is ideal. Again, I don't want to be shoulder wide, so if I'm somewhere inside of shoulder width, that's fine. I don't want to be in alignment, definitely don't want to cross step. Boom. But my hips are not square. It's doing a new yoga set on Saturday, and I was introduced to a phrase that was identified as something we say in yoga: as below, so above. As a matter of fact, I think Water Tiger School shared that new phrase that I came across on Saturday afternoon, this morning on this page. As below, so above. And Teddy McDonald was saying, you know, in your yoga asanas and your poses, you start with the feet. Get the feet right, then work up through the body. Everything's connected. Everything's active. Everything has intents, but the feet start it. Now, we originate our movement from our Shia Dan Tien at Water Tiger School in the two directions, but the feet have to be correct for the rest of the structure to be there. Right? All the intent can be there, though it might be challenging. The structure is going to be off if the feet is off. The feet are off. So the feet are very, very important. So that's the lower body. And in the form, actually both forms, the long form and the 24, the two in Water Tiger School's lineage that contain single whip, it's always with the left foot forward if you're playing the form the regular direction. So we'll get to the other side in a moment. Now, to me, this is a left single whip because the left foot is forward. For other people, it would be a right single whip because to get into it, the weight starts in the right foot. The forward hand, for us, is palm out. So my palm is moving in a palm strike position forward. A lot of people will use a knife edge hand, sort of a, knife edge, that's right. I was going to say ridge hand, but that's this side. Knife edge hand out, we're palm out. One of my favorite images that I have, that I refer to as a found image because I ran across it on the internet, is a group of little old Chinese guy kind of in an old sort of arena, outdoor theater, something like that. And they're all in single whip. And there are some that are the same, but there are some that are very, very different. Like I said, everybody has their different approach. Sun style is sort of more like this. But anyway, that's the front hand. The back hand is in that crane's beak position. And it's moving sort of at the same angle as my back shoulder, but slightly in front. I'm not in the plane of the shoulder. That's too much strain on the shoulder. I'm definitely not trying to get it right straight back behind me as I'm in this position because I want to maintain my sunken chest and my rounded back. So that's where that is. You will also want to notice that were I to go over and grab a staff and set it on my shoulders, the top of that hand is really even with that back shoulder. And that's Water Tiger School's single whip. Again, forward weighted, back foot at the 45, inside of shoulder width. And that's our left single whip. Our right single whip, same thing, right? So turn that left foot out to the 45. If I were in forward stance, my hips would be square, my shoulders would be square, front toes forward, but I'm going to move that foot inside. Front hand palm out, back hand again, crane's beak, feeling the activation, the intent of having the solidity of the 5 digits together at the pads, the solidity of the spread across the top of the hand, but not forcing it. The intent is just there. And this is single whip, right, for us. Knee over ankle, knee over top of foot, but not knee over or beyond toes. And again, a lot of people don't do a side shot here. Boom. a lot of people, if they don't play the form to the opposite direction, if they don't do an exercise like this, they will never experience single whip in that second stance. So within the context of the form, how we get into single whip at Water Tiger School is out of push in the 4 postures of grass sparrow's tail. And what happens is we turn across, sort of looks like cloud hens, if you know cloud hens, right? Left hand across the top, right hand across the bottom, bouncing the weight into the left foot. So we settle the weight into the right foot, crane beak forms, the other hand presses down. We refer to this as pushing the spool, pulling the thread. Then as we turn back, the beak turns up, left hand brings in the left leg. As the left hand goes fingertips up, fingertips down, wipe, step, compress. Now notice where my right foot is in this instance, and I bring the toes with, and I move into single whip. So that's the process in the context of the form. And we use that to map out how to do the walking exercise. Look at the time. Okay. So it's a little tricky, as some of these walking exercises have been over the last going on 7 months now. But it's doable, especially if you've done this within the context of the form. If you haven't, or if you have a different single whip, might be a little bit different story for you, right? But move into the first one. Boom. And I want to start in a tai chi-like fashion, so I'm moving across, beak up, beak down, fingertips up, beak down, wipe, step, compress, and whip. Now the release, as soon as you release, this hand forms the beak, the left hand forms the beak. Beak up, this hand sweeps across. I'm turning out that lead foot to the 45, back heel releasing when it has to. Oops, losing my balance. Fingertips up, beak down, wipe, step, compress, and open. Again, rock back. Beak hand opens, open hand forms beak, turning out, beak up, fingertips down, turning to that 45, beak down as the fingertips come up, wipe, step, compress, open. Rock back, beak opens, open hand, starts to form the beak, sweeping, 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 sweeping across, beak up, fingertips are down, settling the weight into that foot, this pause here. I allowed it to lose my, make me lose my balance. Fingertips up, beak down. Wipe, step, compress, open. A little casual close. So the little weight transition is a little bit tricky, but it still plays out. By the way, we have basic martial applications for all of the postures. Some of them work very well within the context of the movement, what it is that you're doing. Single whip has many, 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 many different applications. The easiest of which is the strike is coming in. I'm using this moment to block, beak up, taking the beak down. And there are several things I can do with this inside hand. But the easiest is catch the wrist, and move into the elbow and strike. But I can also do beak up, beak down, fingertips. So now this hand is on the inside of that arm. I'm catching that arm, stepping forward, and a lot of people who do the palm out consider it this opening while that arm is trapped. that leg is there against their leg, and you're throwing them over the leg. And you can do that with the knife edge of the hand just as well as you can with the back of the hand. Sort of to fit a little bit more into the personality of what it is that we're doing. And the open palm is one of those things that is sort of like, my opponent does A, I'm going to do B, C, D, and E, and hope the opponent lets me. And then sort of the same beginning, doing a deflection, punches coming in, doing the deflection, coming up, catching it, bringing that hand up and over my head, and then striking into their open chest. Well, this is hanging out here, waiting for another opportunity. But anyway, the walk itself. As I mentioned, a lot of people are just like, okay, I'm going to get into that first one and then start, and not in a Tai Chi-like fashion. I like taking advantage of the time that I have to begin from the beginning with a Tai Chi-like movement, with the intent, with the principles of Tai Chi. So if my first step is generally always to the left, though not all the time, I'm going to bounce the weight into the left foot. I'm going to start to fill the right, so I get everything moving together the way that it should. Peek down, fingertips up, wide step, compress, and open. Beak hand opens, open hand forms beak, beak up, fingertips down, beak down, fingertips up, wipe, step, compress. A little bit, no, not wide, okay, never mind. Boom. Camera was playing tricks on me. Beak up from the open hand, beak open from the beak hand, beak up, fingertips down, turning, again this pause is killing me. Fingertips up, beak down, wipe, step, compress, open. There you have it, boys and girls. Single whip walking. Posture taken from the 24 from the long form, and as I said earlier, probably other forms as well. This has become a focus for things Water Tiger School. A lot over the last 5 years is really pulling things out that you wouldn't normally think of as walking exercises and playing them as walking exercises. I mean, prior to this, walking exercise with single whip was all one-sided. Because you do single whip, you do cloud hands, you do single whip, you do cloud hands, you do single whip, you do cloud hands, and just sort of continue down the floor that direction, that way. So it's all one-sided. And then you could switch and do the same sequence on the other side. But I like playing both sides. It gets things going. It challenges your understanding of what it is that you're doing. And we like that. Variety is the spice of Tai Chi. I think I should write that down. Oh, no, wait, I say it all the time. So there you are. Remember, normally in the library programs, we would not have class on next Monday's holiday, Columbus Day, Indigenous Persons Day. But I'm going to be here at 10 a.m. And who knows? I noticed some people coming in and out. I think I'm alone right now. But hopefully some folks will show up. So thanks. I appreciate your time and attention. We have some different stuff in the queue. I have an idea of what I would like us to do next week. We'll see if that unfolds. Hope you like it. It might be something from the Animal Frolics. Let me just put it that way. And there's that. So, this is the time for me to say mask up. So please do. Still, as much as possible, stay in, stay away from crowds, that sort of thing. Keep listening to the health professionals and medical experts as to how we can keep the curve where it is on Long Island, because there are some rates going up in New York State, as well as across the country. We need to start living in a way that will get us to the other side of this. And that's my med ball moment. I'd say soapbox, but I'm on a hardcore medicine ball. So take care, stay safe, and we'll see you, well, you'll see me next time. Ta.